morning, and thank you for being here for an update from the feedback that we received verbally from Ofsted yesterday. The feedback that we received is provisional. You remember last time we had a different set of judgments to what was eventually published. What I share with you needs to remain within the organization because it's not confirmed. We will only be allowed to share this externally when they publish their reports. And I have requested that to be as quick as possible, but that would not be within the next 3 weeks or so. So what I share with you today is the immediate feedback that we received yesterday from Matt. Just to remind you, what was the purpose of the visit? They came to look and see and judge how far we have moved on in progressing against 6 themes that they have identified from their Ofsted inspection a year ago today. And on that, we were going to get 3 judgments of either significant progress that has been made, or if we have made reasonable progress, or if we have made insufficient progress. I just want you to spend a minute or so, read what those judgments mean. Specifically, on the insufficient progress. We had 2 of those last time they were here, both related to teaching, learning and assessment, and the observation of teaching, learning and assessment. So last time they came, they said what we have done in those 2 areas has had negligible impact on our learners. If you are a manager in FE or a teacher in FE, when people ask you what you do, you say you teach. What's the core business of this organization? If we were selling something, we sell learning opportunities, we teach. And we had insufficient progress. We have either been slow in improving it, or what we have done have been insubstantial. That's the judgment that we had last time around. Reasonable progress, however, means that they're already having beneficial impact, it is systematic, and it is through our thorough quality assurance. We had quite a few of those. And we also had significant progress for our safeguarding, which is a fantastic accolade, because as you know, even outstanding organizations who can get all the other bits and pieces right can be deemed inadequate if their safeguarding arrangements are not effective. So let's have a look to see where we are with those now, 1 year on. 1 year on safeguarding, we have made significant improvement, and that remains. That is fantastic news. There has been situations where RMBs have gone in again, and they have downgraded from what they judged before. They said, well, you were okay, you're now went back. So we have got that in the bag. Safeguarding is now deemed good. What we need to do is to make sure that we continue on that. It's not that it's good, we can now sit back. It's that rigor that needs to be in place to make sure our learners are safe is going to continue. On the second theme, it just grinds me to share this with you. It's the observation of teaching and learning. It's the quality of what they've seen in the classroom yesterday. They have had around about 25, 26 observations. We have been accompanying them for around about 18 of those, and they agree that our judgments agrees with them. So we know what we're talking about. And they are saying all the efforts that we have done over the whole year has made negligible impact on learners. I was splitting feathers, I don't know what you're going to do, but it's painful to hear that when they say you have the quality right, what you're doing is right, your systems and processes are sound, continue on that trajectory, and you should improve. But what they see in the classroom is not good enough. I'm going to ask Phil to give you a little bit more detail about what they said. I'm going to give you the negatives first, so you know what they saw. Phil.
So the headline feedback that we received yesterday, which is an overview of everything that they saw. Questioning across the board was generally poor. There was a lack of stretch in the questioning. When learners were giving the right answer, it was accepted and wasn't then being followed up or developed. And they thought that was especially true at the lower levels, level 1 and level 2 that they saw. Across the board, with a few notable exceptions, they saw little evidence of planning for individual learners' needs. So they saw little evidence of actually planning for the group of learners that was in the room. Too many learners that they spoke to in classes and around the college, you would have seen them approaching learners in the corridor. Do you know your target grade? Do you know what that means? Do you know how you're going to get there? Too many learners don't understand their target grades or don't know their target grades. In a lot of classes they saw the checking of learning, making sure learners have understood what's been taught before moving on, was superficial. A cursory, have you got that? Yes, let's move on. The planning of some lessons didn't provide the opportunity to apply the new learning. There was an example of an English session where the apostrophe was delivered really, really well. But then it was a move on to the next task without checking or applying that new knowledge that was learnt. On at least 3 occasions, teachers' own resources contained spelling or grammar errors, either on slides or in handouts. Across the board, English and maths activities lacked vocational relevance, or if it wasn't possible to provide vocational relevance, lack of relevance to the learners' own personal lives and how they could use those English and maths skills in their own personal lives. They saw LSAs not being employed effectively. In one case, they saw the LSA simply giving the answers to a learner. In another case, they found the LSA being disruptive to the flow of the class by engaging in a conversation that had absolutely nothing to do with what was going on. Learners' development of English skills across the board they felt was limited. They saw very little writing, very little development of sentences, of paragraphs, of those written English skills. Over-reliance on generic handouts, generic worksheets that were not tailored to the group. Poorly attended lessons, especially in English and maths, but they did acknowledge that was a trend that was improving. These last two are the ones I think that have really kept me awake overnight. Learners were held back from their learning by poor planning for individual abilities. And linked directly to that, the key thing there, teaching to the lowest ability in the group. That's the one for me that's unforgivable. We've moved from teaching to the middle, so those above and those below, we're not either supporting and scaffolding or stretching. We've moved from that to teaching to the lowest abilities, to teaching to the lowest common denominator in the group. And because we're doing that, the more able students are not making the progress, and that was seen to be leading to behavioural issues in the class. So they're the negatives. Stark, isn't it? There are some positives. There were some good things that were seen. Acknowledge that behaviour was good. Across the college, in classes, around the college, behaviour was good. You'll remember in the Ofsted report, behaviour was a significant area for improvement. If the theme about behaviour, attendance and punctuality had just been on behaviour, I think we'd have probably got significant improvement for that. A good A-level class was seen and a good AAT class was seen with students engaged and making good progress. There was a level 3 performing arts class scene where learners were critiquing each other well and developing good communication skills. A number of classes were seen in travel, sport and public services, with learners working well. Some innovative planning going on in those areas came back to us, and some effective use of gaming in sport. We're quite keen to explore what was seen and how we can use that in other areas. In travel and tourism, they saw an effective end-of-class review of progress linked to how are we against our aspirational target grades. That was felt to be excellent practice. And in travel and in public services, students have a good knowledge of their targets, ITG, ATG, good knowledge of how to achieve them based on good feedback from their teachers. And across the board, punctuality was felt to be generally good. But as you can see, the weaknesses identified are across the board, and they outweigh those pockets, the green shoots as Matt describes them, those pockets of some really good practice. Hence the weaknesses outweigh the strengths, and the judgment being we've made insufficient progress as a college on teaching, learning and assessment.
Thank you, Phil. I don't know how demotivating you feel hearing the previous slide, but the main point here is this has been another test on our journey to address the challenges that we have. And to me, the saving grace is this slide, which says, observation of teaching and learning has reasonable progress. That was insufficient in April. So what they were telling us is you know what is not working, you know what bad looks like, you know what good practice looks like. They were extremely complimentary about the way that we have made available support in terms of LTA Cafe, learning coaches, support that is available, CPD that is linked. They saw all of those, but what they are saying is all of that is not making an impact in the classroom. So we have the infrastructure in place, but does nothing. So my question to you this morning is what's missing? If you're saying processes are there, support is available, we know what good looks like, we know what not so good looks like, how can we translate that? How can we move from knowing to acting? And that's not something that I'm going to do by being dictatorial and say you need to be doing this and you need to be doing that. We need to model differentiation in how that would make a difference in every single team and in every single individual's practice. So my ask of you today is when you go back into your rooms, this is not about blame, this is a diagnosis, the one that we don't like. And what we are saying is that if this was a terminal diagnosis and we had 3 months to live, which is really what is going to happen, we have 3 months to turn this around. 3 months. If the diagnosis was demotivating, let's get over it and do what is needed for us to turn that around. So if you haven't got it, that the single purpose of this organization is our learners, please get it now. We need to deliver good teaching, learning and assessment in the classroom at all times. How can we make that happen? If the systems that we have put in place are not making a difference, how can we help you who are delivering, support you who are delivering to make it happen? And that is a genuine plea to say let's work together to get this right. And as a team, we need to have that joint and shared goal. I sent you a little clip this morning to say go watch it. If we are going out to say we are going to transform the teaching and learning and assessment at this organization, but that is not the aim, that is not behind your motivation when you come to work. Do you remember last time I spoke to you, I said, why do you do what you do? Do you remember that exercise? If the why in your list of why you do what you do is not improving teaching, learning and assessment, then this team is not going to go further. So my plea to you is, let's get behind single agenda, improvement of teaching, learning and assessment. And you are the experts. If what is offered is not helping you improve, what will? And I'm genuinely asking you, and I will genuinely listen, and I will provide what is making that eventuality that we want happen for you. We have 3 months, tops. We have 3 months, tops. Next slide was about following the progress of our learners, use of data. They've seen that vastly improved. The only comment that they had there is that our governors, looking at teaching, learning and assessment and the progress of teaching and learning and assessment rigorously enough. And we know they do, and we did argue about that. What they are saying is from the notes of the meetings, that doesn't jump out. So we will have a look at our administration of the board to make sure that the challenge that we receive, and I tell you, it is uncomfortable sitting at the Board of Governors when every single thing that we say will be challenged and will be questioned. I wish I didn't have our Chair of Board of Governors standing there, but he does give me help. And he keeps my feet very close to the fire in everything that I do. Charm or any of that doesn't work with him, he wants results. And that's why he's the Chair of our Board of Governors. He runs a tight ship. He is fully behind our agenda. He is an extremely busy councillor, not just for the district, but also for the county. Extremely ambitious for his political journey, but also extremely dedicated to the life and work of this local college, that he is proud to be the Chair of Governors. And we will work together to take this college forward. But reasonable progress there. And the last part, the last theme, was realigning our curriculum to the LEP and current priorities, and they feel that we have done reasonable progress there. The work of the forest base, the work that you guys are doing with employers, the realignment of the curriculum that has happened, they are saying all of that, reasonable progress. There has been a lot of positive that they've said, and the wording of their reports will reflect that. But today is not about me saying, yay, everything is okay, because it's bloody isn't. But it's not the end of the world. And you know, I want you to have a look at the next slide, which really talks about what the priorities are. 3 months, poor diagnosis. 3 months to recover from it, and curable. This is not a terminal illness. This is a poor diagnosis that says, you can handle this. Phil.
So, the priorities that we were given yesterday were very, very clear. We have to improve the teaching of English and maths. They looked, as we expected, as anyone would have expected, they looked at a lot of English and maths classes. They felt, they have reported, the teaching of English and maths is not yet good enough. We've got to improve across the board the planning to support the needs of each individual learner, taking into account their starting points and ensuring we are stretching every learner to achieve their potential. That comes back to the basics of having that ITG and ATG that they understand, that we understand, and we give feedback against. But it also comes back to this idea of ensuring we are supporting, scaffolding the learners that are at the bottom end of the group. We're focusing on those in the middle, and we're stretching those at the top to achieve what they're capable of. They saw pretty much across the board whole group teaching, whole groups doing the same activity. We've got to change that. Improve the level of stretch and challenge, as I've said, to ensure the most able are making good progress. There's green shoots around our value added, and that was identified and that will be in the report. But the concern is, if that's not happening in the classes, is that going to be sustainable? Attendance, we all know we have to improve it. We've been working on it for a number of weeks prior to this. That was no surprise. And attendance is improving in the college, but it's not yet where it needs to be. And the gap between attendance at vocational and attendance at English and maths is still too wide. A concern around the return to class after breaks. They saw some poor punctuality around that. We need to ensure we are managing those breaks. If we are giving learners a break, as appropriate to the activity and the learners, we have to manage that really well. And we need to set high expectations. And again, that's that common theme running all the way through, isn't it? The high expectations of every learner and planning for the learners, not planning for the syllabus in isolation.
Thank you. All of those says one thing to me, and that is, if you take the next slide, please, and again, probably, is that we need to do our own diagnosis. It's not working. Are we aware that it isn't? Yes. Go to the next slide, Phil, please. Do we understand what it means? Yes. We are providing poor quality teaching and learning that is judged to be insufficiently good. So we are aware and we understand what it means. Do we have the capability to do what it takes? Do we have the capacity to do what it takes? And more importantly, do we have the commitment to do it? If it's the first four, if you still don't know what we are talking about here, you don't understand the consequences of it, you don't know how to deliver it, you have too many other things that it's too much to handle, speak up. Let's talk about it, let's sort it out. If you don't have the commitment to make it happen, simply, you don't belong in this organization, let's have that talk. To me, what this says is let's do our job. And doing our job means focusing on teaching and learning and what is happening in the classroom. So today, I want you to show that commitment, and I will not be looking around here to see who's going to go top floor, who's going to go bottom floor. If you believe that this has been a diagnosis with a poor prognosis, that we are not good enough yet, but you have the commitment and you are prepared to talk about capability and capacity issues, and you want to fully understand what this means, and you want to be part of this team that would change this very achievable task, because we have a lot of it in place already. It needs to happen in the classroom, it needs to feel right for you as teachers, so you give your best in the classroom 100% of the time. And if that is the case, I want you to leave going up there. A bit of an effort for those lazy ones who sit at the bottom. And if you don't, leave from the bottom. I want a visual representation of your commitment. And that doesn't mean whoever goes out of this door, Jack is going to be at the door with your P45. That's not what this is about. This is physically demonstrating to one another that we are in this together and we have the commitment to make it work. So spend 30 seconds to decide, if you need, which door you are going to go out of, and make that choice. We will get through this by doing our job. Phil, I don't need the video showing. We will get through this by doing our job. We have a class to teach in 20 minutes, and I want you to go back in your teams when there is your team meeting and come back with your suggestions on how we can tackle this. This is not a setback, it's a challenge. I'm up for it, are you? Choose the door. Have a good day.
Sorry, before everyone just goes, can I just say on behalf of the governors what my feedback was off back yesterday? It's fair to say that Saburi and Phil and the rest of the management team were disappointed. When I got involved with college just under a year ago, we didn't know where we were involved. We know what we're doing now. We've identified the weaknesses. Our quality of data is second to none, in their view, and I believe that too. What you guys need to do is keep doing what you're doing. I know Saburi has reflected the negativity of yesterday's meeting, but there is a lot of good work that you guys are doing. So please, please do look up and be proud of what you're achieving. We've got a lot of people looking at what we do as a college. Unfortunately, some of them want us to fail. Please do not fail. Your first priority is to our students, and I know all of you do believe that. This is a knockback, yes, but let's get up, let's get fighting, and let's win this. Thank you.
Thank you.